Hey everyone, welcome to Retro Reloaded. I'm your host Lance, and each week I tackle a retro game shaped by your picks. If you want a chance to choose next week's game or unlock exclusive bonus episodes and polls, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. There's even a free tier for you to dip your toes in. Big thanks for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Now let's hit start and reload those retro vibes. The games I'm going to be covering this week are Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages: The Legend of Zelda. They were developed by Capcom's flagship team and published by Nintendo. The games were originally planned as a trilogy called the Triforce series, however, the third game got canceled. The Oracle of Seasons, Link uses a rod of seasons to change between spring, summer, and autumn and fall. Autumn and winter. It infects the environment, and you have to solve puzzles. Oracle of Ages, Link uses the Harp of Ages to travel between the past and the present, which is key to puzzle solving and story progression. The games interact via passwords or game link, allowing actions in one game to affect the other and unlock additional narratives. It was released in North America on May 14th, 2001. And the interesting facts is that both games share the same engine. Developers designed the games to overcome the Game Boy Color's hardware limitations, such as the narrow screen size. And both titles are among the best-selling Game Boy Color games. In the story, basically, Link is thrown into different lands. One is called Holodrum in Seasons. The other is called Labrina in Ages. And he meets the Oracle of Seasons and Seasons, the Oracle of Ages and Ages. They are both abducted in their different ways, and you basically have to go save them. Now, to introduce my guest who's going to be talking to me about this game, he goes by, I want to make sure I pronounce that
Wobeeyert.
right. Wobeeyert. And
It's okay, Lance.
yeah, and he's played these. I'm guessing you've played these games a lot. Go ahead and just tell me your history with these games and why you wanted to be a guest for this game.
Well, decades ago, when I first got a Game Boy Color, my first game I got for it was Pokemon Gold. But shortly after, like a year or so later, I ended up getting my first handheld Zelda game, which was Oracle of Ages. And I had played Zelda games before, but I'd never owned one and played it like this. I remember my buddy had Oracle of Seasons, and when I saw that there was differences so vast between them, I became completely obsessed with these things. Every couple of years or so, I'll play through them once in a while, either on a virtual console or on my actual Game Boy Color. It's nice to go back to those old handhelds. And these two, they just left a mark.
Okay, so I'm just curious, are these among your favorite Zelda games, or?
As far as 2D Zelda games go, a little controversial here, but I love A Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, but I always seem to go back to Oracle of Ages and Seasons more, because like you said in the intro, they just feel like one big game between the two of them.
Right. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I think, I started out with my first 2D Zelda being Link to the Past. I was born in 91, so it was perfect timing for me to play that. And these games actually do remind me of that games a little bit. They reflect Link to the Past a lot.
It feels like they're definitely in the same perfect 2D Zelda scape, whereas the newer ones like Echoes of Wisdom, it kind of doesn't hit the mark like the old ones did, but for what they did with the Game Boy Color compared to A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, and then to these two, it feels like a really good succession of the series and just how it proves over time.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like it was kind of almost maybe, I don't know if an expansion is the correct term, but an expansion to Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Kind of how Ocarina and Majora's Mask, Majora's Mask kind of felt like an expansion to Ocarina, and these games
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and these games kind of feel like an expansion to Link to the Past in a way. You can definitely see the impression from Link to the Past. Now these are Game Boy exclusives. They were released on the Game Boy Color, and I didn't play them back then. I played them for the first time this like just like a few months ago, and so I got to experience them for the first time as an adult, which is kind of an interesting perspective. You know, I have no nostalgia there for these games, so.
It's funny you say that because I had them on the Game Boy Color, but I had a friend like a couple years later who had a Game Boy Advance, and he had like another game. He's like, "Well, didn't you open the Advance shop?" And I'm like, "Excuse me, the what?" And that's when I found out that there was Advance exclusive features in it. But I didn't know about the linked game thing till about 10 years after I played the first Oracle of Ages.
Wait, so there was an advanced like features for these games?
It's very small. It's literally just this little store. Like there's a door in both in Holodrum and also Labrina, but there's this little door that's closed. But if you plug the game into a Game Boy Advance and turn it on and go to that door, it's open. And there's like 3 things for sale. Yeah, there's just 2 rings and then there's a gaseous seed. And the one ring is, and I'll get to this later, but the ring is literally just the advanced ring. It does nothing, but it's a symbol. Okay. And then you can just keep re-rolling rings and just get rings for however many rupees they sell for.
Okay, that's so weird to me because I know this came out during the Game Boy Color generation, right? That would like I'm correct on that.
Pretty late though, yeah, pretty late in it. They had pushed the launch of it because of the troubled development, and it was close enough to the Advance that they were going to try and incentivize the backwards compatibility with the Game Boy Advance, but also show that like the games coming out will also have unique features, but it's really not that unique. It's just this tiny little shop with like 3 things.
Yeah, right. It's like an extra room.
Like for like 8-year-old me, like 10-year-old me, it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, even though it might have been just an extra room, like when you're in love with a game, especially when you're young like that, you want to like unlock everything, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I feel
yeah. I remember when my friend showed me the boomerang in Oracle of Seasons because I had Ages and he could control it moving around and it just blew my mind. And then that coupled with the Game Boy Advance thing, it opened up a whole new other half of the game to me, basically, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think what one of the things that makes this game kind of unique is that link that we were kind of talking about, the link between both games. And in order to like 100% the game, you have to beat both seasons and ages. Am I right?
Which is a really cool thought because you can switch them back and forth, like vice versa. You can start with ages, transfer the story to seasons, or vice versa. Start with seasons, transfer it to ages. There's a lot of little things in there, like returning characters that, like if you start in seasons and go to ages, you can see a Subrosion. And I had never seen that as a kid because like I had Ages, and then you see a Subrosion in Ages, and I was like, "Whoa, you're supposed to be underground."
Yeah,
but the link between them was really cool.
I had no idea how much that link did to the game. I just thought it was for final bosses. I didn't realize it would like add extra characters. So like there's this character in the first town of seasons because I started with seasons and then I went to ages. And there's this character, like a baby in the town, and there's like a parents, the mom and dad, and you name their child.
Blossom and Bippum.
Yeah, okay, Blossom and Bippum. Yep. And I named their child Dog. And like I went over to Ages and they're like, "Oh hey, it's you again."
Hey,
like
Dog's growing up.
Yeah, he's like, "Dog's growing up, he's doing great." I was like, "Oh, nice dog." That's a good dog. But that was so funny.
That's a good dog.
That's
one of the cool ones too. It's a little hidden in there, but yeah, as long as you go back and forth to Blossom and Bippum between getting a few of the essences, then you watch their kid just grow older. And there's actually branching paths of the kids' like development. If you look at the wiki page, you're like, why is this so intricate for Game Boy Color games?
Like, yeah, the kid is just like this huge part of the game. That's so funny. He's just like,
It's just so hidden too. Like he can
eh,
become a hero, a bard, like a gardener. It's the weirdest thing.
what? I didn't know that. I just
Yeah,
knew.
it's a lot deeper than you think.
That's so crazy. So these games have
Little dog, the hero.
they have so much depth to them. And if you only play through them once, you're like myself, you're not going to get all of that, you know?
No, but it's still a rewarding game even then, because like I had only played Ages for like 4 years when I was younger, and then I finally got Seasons, and then that's when the linked game became a thing. And even Stowe, like I didn't know about the linked game at first, but I started with Seasons, and it was still nice to have something similar, but just different enough. Like the items in each game are so diverse, and they make the game so much more enjoyable. The puzzles are so well catered to the items like as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of start off by maybe talking, and maybe we can go back and forth, but maybe talking about some of the bad in the game,
Oh,
and some of,
easy.
and then maybe after that we kind of go to the good. And I know a lot of people who are fans of this game don't, the maybe if you put on those nostalgia goggles, you're not going to see any of the bad. But there was some bad for me personally, and one of them it was the item swapping in the game.
Yes, pretty
Yeah,
archaic. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that was part of just part of the times. It was on a Game Boy Color. You only had so many buttons, but you had
yeah,
to cut
limitations of the console.
exactly, and you had to go back into the inventory. And like anytime you needed to switch item, you had to go back in your inventory, select the item, then go back out, and then like use the item. And I
Yeah,
think this
nothing
was
kind of makes you feel a little more frustrated than when you have to use a slingshot and a boomerang, but then the guy gets close and you got to swing your sword, but you're like, I gotta pause.
yeah, and there's a lot of times in the game you have to do that. And I mean, it wasn't like game breaking where I was like, oh, this is just horrible. But it's something you definitely notice. You're like, okay, here we go. And especially for certain bosses, I remember having to swap a lot.
Mm.
And I don't remember the specific bosses, but I do remember just like swapping items back and forth, the sword, and maybe a bomb, maybe this, maybe the hook shot, maybe this. So it was a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
to piggyback off of that, like a gripe that I always have with them is, especially in Seasons, is having to switch to the Rod of Seasons, and how you don't get to pick which season it becomes next. It just goes in order.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if it's fall, but I need summer, I have to go through 3 whole seasons just to get it to summer.
Oh man, that really bugged me during like I think there was like a forest sequence where you like have to
Oh
like
yeah,
change the forest the seasons in the forest and then go to like the next area of the forest. So you'd like change it, go to the next area and change it. I think that I remember just being like, okay, here we go. Like what am I got to switch through. Um
switch to fall, lift up a mushroom, do this, switch to winter, climb up the mound, something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
the
exactly.
seasons were a fun gimmick. It's just if you had been able to select which season you could pick, I think it'd be a little bit better. But again, that just kind of overcomplicates the already frustrating pause screen, open close.
Right. So yeah, maybe if they at least made it to where the rod was just something that was automatic, kind of like what you were suggesting, where you just like get on the stump and you just use it. I think that would have been a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like in Ages, you just switch between which song you want to play, whereas Seasons just okay. Time to flip through the seasons again.
Right. And I think along the same lines is like the power bracelet. Like I think that's something they could have just made automatic, and they
Yeah,
didn't.
kind of like in later ones where like in Ocarina, you just get the Goron bracelet. You can lift more things, but the power bracelet, I didn't like that you had to equip it just to push something that's larger. And I agree entirely with that one.
Right. Yeah.
Bit
And it's like you can know, I don't think that was a hardware limitation. I think maybe they were just go like with that one, they were just like, let's just make that an item or something. But I'm not really sure.
I think they were just trying to keep it diverse because like you can see in Ages you can get an upgraded power bracelet, but in Seasons you get an upgraded Rock's Feather. So I feel like they could have picked a better item than the power bracelet to give a second level to, though.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. It's kind of like when I'm going through these dungeons and I get like an upgrade of the previous item, sometimes I feel a little let down. I'm like,
Yeah.
for example, there was like the hook, the switch shot that you get, and I think
Oh, the switch hook thing, yeah.
and I think that was in Ages, but like you get like a switch hook and it like you grab an item and then it like places you in the position of where the item originally was and puts the item where you were originally were. And one of the upgrades was just like a longer version of that, you know?
Faster. It's just faster, longer is all it is.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I
Cool. I
guess,
can reach those things barely out of reach, I guess.
yeah. So there was a
It
few
goes off screen.
times.
I'm like, what am I switching with?
Yeah, there was a few times I was just like, I guess that's cool, but I think some of the items were really fun, and I'll go in that into the good section when we start talking about that. But all right, but the next bad thing I was going to talk about, if there's a weird audio cut, just to let people know we had an audio drop. But the next bad thing I was going to talk about in the game that I felt like was bad, and I got this in Minish Cap as well. It wasn't exclusive to Oracle of Seasons or Oracle of Ages. There was a couple of times in the game where I felt like I was lost, like I wasn't exactly sure where to go, especially in the overworld. Um, and I can't remember exactly some of these times. I think one of them involved the trading system, and one of them involved like a certain area that I just couldn't find, like I was supposed to go to or do, and I just couldn't figure it out. Did you have any of that experience when you were playing the games?
So years ago, when I first played them, yes, Oracle of Seasons especially, because you get to the point where you're going to, I want to say Tarm Runes, and you're supposed to, as you said, the trading sequence, and I had no idea. I had no idea how to get through the forest to get to like through the place, and I was so confused. But luckily back then there was slight access to internet, so I was able to find something at least. And Oracle of Ages, the hardest one I found was the last dungeon. I was so confused because when you get through the seven, then the next one it's the Maku tree, Maku, whatever tree is like, hey, I don't know where the eighth dungeon is, so good luck. And I was like,
Ah.
okay.
Yeah, I do remember the Mako tree saying that, like, oh, well, good luck finding out where to go. I think that was one of the times that I had to look at the strategy guide, because I don't like to look at walkthroughs. I like to go through these games like with blind. But if I get stuck for more than 30 minutes to an hour, I look at the walkthrough because I'm like, this is too like I can't figure it
Yeah.
out, you know. But I'm a little bit more impatient than I used to be when I was younger. I think when I was younger, I used to, just push through these things, and it was like, yeah, and plus, I didn't have access to the internet at all times,
Of
so
course.
like, you had to just like figure it out. But I just there was a couple of times, and it happened to me probably more in Minish Cap than it did this. But I was just there was a few times where I was just like, what the heck? And the game doesn't really give you any hints, I guess they give you hints, but they're pretty abstract
Pretty vague,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, well, and then but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't that bad. It was just a few times. And then the next thing I wanted to kind of cover was the backtracking in the dungeons. Um,
Yeah, I
there
found
was
that to be a pretty problematic too over time.
Yeah, and if you've played it through a lot, you're probably going back and forth through these dungeons a lot. There was a few times where it's just like, okay, you go through these doors, and then you're going back through the dungeon, and you're going through these doors, and it seemed like you backtracked a lot.
The last dungeon in Seasons really irks me because they have one of those little rotating puzzles where you can only access it from one of four sides, and there's like two in the same dungeon, and you have to keep on jumping back and forth. And I'm just like, can't you just like let me walk through here, please?
Yeah, dude.
I've already
So
been to all four directions.
I remember them reusing that mechanic, and I was like, you could have not. Like, you could have not used that
Like,
mechanic.
why can't I get to all four sides and then it just opens? Why do I have to keep doing the switching back and forth? It's just tedium.
Yeah, yeah, and but you know what? Even though those were annoying to me, the worst one was not even that dungeon. It was the mermaid's cave. I
Okay,
hated.
I was about to say, is that the one in the where you're a mermaid in Jabu Jabu?
No, I think it's not the one where you're in Jabu Jabu. It's the one right after Goron Mountain, and it's like you have to change the water levels.
Oh, okay, yes. Every Zelda game for some reason has this obsession with water dungeons, and it's beyond frustrating. I hate the water level changing mechanics. You do it once and you don't ever want to do it again. Does anybody want to go back to the water temple in Ocarina of Time? No. But we want to experience the game.
Yeah, but they always make you go back. They always
They
make you
always
go
make
back.
you go back, and I hate it.
It's so
Great for me, a dungeon was Jabu Jabu in Oracle of Ages, and I think that's because the how they handled the mermaid suit. Instead of just holding a direction, you have to tap, 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 tap. Like you don't just hold left and go left. You have to keep tapping left like you're flapping your fishtail.
yeah, yeah,
And a whole dungeon with this?
yeah, and it's a whole dungeon, and I feel the same way. I remember like trying to because I played it on a just to, for clarification, I had it on an emulator and I played it on a Razer Kishi for the phone. So like it's like a controller, and it feels kind of like a PSP, you know, like when you're playing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they have an auto button that like you know like you can do like auto like just it does it like automatically, and I was hoping that would work for the Mermaid's Tail, and it doesn't. So I had to do the like a whatever button it is, you know, B B B B A.
Left, 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 up, up,
Yeah.
up,
Oh,
up, up,
oh,
up, up,
that's what
up.
it is. Yeah, it's left, 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 up, 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 and you're just like, ugh, dude. And so you're going up and down, and there's a lot of backtracking in that dungeon too, where you're going through these different levels of water, if I remember correctly. And it's literally the water temple from Ocarina of Time. Literally the same thing. So we just had another cut off, unfortunately, with the audio, but we're back online. We're back online. We're gonna make it work. We were talking about how much the swimming was horrible, and now we're gonna go. Also, another area that I didn't like besides Mermaid's Cave was the Goron's Mountain. I don't know if you remember that. In the, I
Layout
think,
sucked.
huh?
The layout sucked. The layout was a pain to traverse.
Yeah, it was. It was the one in Ages, not so much the one in the seasons. The Ages, you had to like go back and forth between the past and the present, and the layout was like kind of confusing. So
Yeah, no, that one wasn't. That's not one of my favorite areas of it. No,
yeah,
I just a quick little one. I can't stand the rings. I'm sorry. I might be crossing a few hairs here, but like the rings, I just feel like they're just. It's just another collectible thing, and I like them, but their utility just goes out the window so quickly with them. Like you get two good ones, and then you never check your rings again.
yeah. I put that on my whatever list. So the rings were kind of like
Yeah.
a whatever for me.
That's
You know, they were like you said, they were pretty much you found one or two good ones, you put them on, and then it was like that was it. You know, they didn't really do anything. I don't remember them like doing anything interesting, fun mechanics.
Nah, just part recovery or faster, longer run times with the Pegasus seeds. Pretty much all.
Yeah. Um. So basically, the rings were like I guess they were like a interesting idea, but they would have been better if they acted more like a something because there's like one that turns you into like a what is it called, a Gorok? You're like a little monster
Octorok.
thing,
You mean
and
Octorok?
huh?
Yeah, an Octorok. You can also be like a like or a Subrosion, which was kind of neat, but that's about it.
Yeah, and if those were like more entwined with the game mechanics, I think that would have been interesting. But they kind of just were like whatever.
Yeah, kind of similar to the mass transformations in Majora.
Yeah, with some of the masks, they were just like useless, but some of them were great. But some of them you're like, okay, but and then so we kind of we kind of talked about a lot of the bad. So for the last thing that I didn't really care for in this game was the necessity of the trading game. I like the trading game as a whole, like as a extra feature. I didn't like that it was necessary to progress through parts of the game or to get like the sword upgrade, which I would have never figured out if I didn't look at the walkthrough. I would have never known how to upgrade my sword. You upgrade the sword that way in Ages and Seasons. You just find the sword in the forest, which I also wouldn't have known if I didn't like see it in the walkthrough. But yeah.
I like having trading sequences in Zelda games, but I felt like slamming them into both of the games kind of felt a bit frustrating over time because like when you transfer from one game to the next, you can get upgrades pretty earlier on, but I didn't want to have to go through a whole other trading sequence just to get another upgrade. But
Yeah.
you know, I can get it. They are pretty like abstract too. They're not very fleshed out. Like you get the egg from like from the little girl in Seasons, and then you're supposed to find Maple. And like when I was a kid, I was like, how the hell do I find the witch? Like I don't know how to get her.
Yeah, they were a little abstract, kind of like certain parts of the game were abstract, and you were like, where am I supposed to trade this thing? You know, what am I supposed to do? And I know the trading game isn't as necessary in Seasons as it is Ages. I think Ages is more important. Um, but it just there was a couple of times I'm just like, if they directed you a little bit more with the trading game, if they wanted that to be like a requirement, I think if they directed you, it would have been a little bit better. I did like
The
it
one
though.
that always gets me in Ages is the C ukulele, where you're supposed to find some random old Zora in like a one-off cave later in the game, and I had no idea where I was supposed to bring the item because you can kind of meet some characters throughout it that you're like, okay, this person wants this person wants this, but then it's like, here's a ukulele, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so there was a couple times where I'm just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? And I remember like the mustache and like there was like you said like the chicken egg and stuff, but it was I think the idea was conceptually was good. I just don't think it should have been a requirement for like certain important upgrades. Now let's get to the good. I mean, I've kind of crapped on this game enough. You know, I think because overall, spoilers. I think the game is these games are good, and I'll tell you the rating at the end. But you know, let's talk about the good stuff. What's good in the game? So I want to start off with the music. I think the music in the game was pretty good. I don't think it's the best Zelda music I've ever heard, but I think it was cute. I think it worked for the game. I really like the shop theme. I really like the theme with the date with Rosa theme, and there's like a pirate theme I really enjoy. What do you think about the music?
I found the music fit everything that you needed it to throughout the game. Like every new tune that you hear of a new place seems to really flesh out the whole experience of them. Like a forest, a mountain. When you meet the Tokay in Ages, when you go to Goron Mountain, you hear that good old boo 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 boo. It just kind of really all fit together really well for me. None of it really stands out crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. I don't feel like I don't think like these are what do you call them like so for example that Goron music first I think first came from Ocarina of Time if I'm correct, and they kind of just threw it in that game. Am I right?
They actually reuse a lot of characters from Ocarina of Time and a lot of like little small sound clips because that they were trying to cater towards the fans there and show them, hey, look, it's the same world, but like I mean, it's got Link. We know it's the same world.
Right, yeah. It's the same world, some of the same characters. They kind of do the dancing thing with the Gorons like they do in Ocarina. There's like that dancing thing that you do with the chief of the village or whatever in Ocarina. Um, and the dancing games were like fun little mini games. And I think like Sub Rosia was a cool concept. I really liked Sub Rosia. You do a dancing game there too. I think I really yeah, I think so. The music overall was good. I wouldn't say it was like so rememberable like, you know, for example, like the intro to Final Fantasy VII or Ocarina of Time where you're just like, okay, I remember this music, you know? I don't know how you feel about it though.
I feel it fits the games perfectly. Like
Yeah.
it's not too much, it's not too little. It perfectly accents the experiences through the games.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like you said, like it's not gonna be something that you're just gonna be humming to yourself as you're walking down the road. But the moment you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm back on Tokay Island. I'm going
Yeah.
to visit the Zoras in the Southwest. Like it just
Yeah.
it accented it really well. They didn't go too far. They didn't fall too short. It just fit. It's like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It was just right.
Yeah. It was cozy. It fit well. It was like cute. I did enjoy the music. You know, another thing I really enjoyed is the some of the items. You know, we talked about some of the bad items earlier where you just get the upgrade, but some of the items were actually pretty fun. I enjoyed the feather and Rock's cape. I thought that was a good upgrade where you do the double jump rather than the single jump. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, and I'm trying to remember, some of some of the items are kind of just like items you would get in any other Zelda game, like the boomerang, and there was like a slingshot, and those are pretty basic. I feel like the one that wasn't basic though was the slingshot that like bounced off the walls. It'd be like bunk, 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 bunk. You know what I mean?
Well, the stage shooter.
Yeah, the seed shooter that you get in I think ages.
Yeah.
The one that like shot out three was kind of like whatever. It's like okay, I now it just shoots out in three directions. But the one that like bounced off the walls, I thought was cool. Um, I also liked the magnet glove. I thought that was a good item.
Yeah, I like the magnet glove. I'm a little bit of a switch hook fan for some reason. I just really like being able to use the switch hook as like a dark nut runs towards me and I switch places with them, turn around and just like slash them in the back. It always felt really cool to me. But I like the only upgrade that really feels warranted is really Rock's cape.
Yeah.
Other than that, like the items fit in pretty well, but there's some really good puzzles with the items.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the items really it made sense, So like with the magnet glove, there's like these spinning orbs or whatever that you have to like
Oh, those
hook
were a
onto,
nightmare.
and yeah, you have to like hook onto them, and then you like have to
It's so
time
bad.
it, and you have to like push yourself away, you know.
They're so difficult but also easy to understand that once you get it, you feel so triumphant. But if you mess it up, you're like, oh, what a
Yeah,
terrible idea.
yeah, it was good. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked especially with the magnet glove, how there's two uses to push and pull, and not only the orbs that you like hook onto, but there's also like balls that you would drag around the game map, and you would like place them in certain areas, and I thought that was cool. Um, and I
I liked the polarity. I loved how the magnet gloves were like positive and negative, how you could go towards something or push away from it. And then there's that one part in the dungeon where you're supposed to cross a big gap, but you don't have Rock's cape yet. You just like use the magnet glove and you feel like you're like force pulling the dark nuts to their death in the void below. It's really rewarding, really good entrance to the gloves.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't use the glove to kill things very much, but I or the switch hook. I noticed that you could switch with enemies, but I didn't do like what you were saying a lot, where you like swapped with somebody and then used the sword on them. I think that's like really cool that you can do that though.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, like I fell into these games. It was my first like handheld Zelda game as a kid, so I just tried everything I could. Like, what does this Sensei do to this guy? Oh, nothing. Okay, because it's useless.
Right. And so that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of unique capabilities with the items, and I think that's partly what makes the game great. I also think another thing that makes the game really good is the art style. And I know it's not like unique to Zelda games, but I think it's perfect for these Game Boy games. The art style was similar to Link to the Past, but the character's a little bit different. But it's cute, it's colorful, it works. I think the pixel art is great. What do you think?
I love that Nintendo, after their trouble development, Nintendo said, "Okay, you guys are having trouble. Just use the Link's Awakening engine." And then from there, they just built these games and eventually cut it down to two. But the Link's Awakening engine works so well for handheld Zeldas because the way that they make the pixel art look, like you don't question what something is. Like bad pixel art is, I have no idea what I'm looking at. But in the Zelda ones, you enter a home, you're like, hey, look, they have a bed, and that's a cupboard for their clothes. Like that's just pretty cool. There's a picture on the wall over there. And the like every character, there's unique ones. There's an unusually large amount of unique pixeled characters for some reason, like just one-off characters. But they definitely put some time into it, so that was impressive. I
Yeah,
just feel like, I never guessed who somebody or something was, which was
yeah,
always welcome with pixel art.
I completely agree. I wasn't ever confused. Like, oh, what am I talking to? I always knew or like, what am I doing? What is this item? I always knew what it was. I feel the same way. And I think it was really good at doing that.
And
Um,
again, like you said, like they really hammered into the color aspect of it, because like Link's Awakening DX had color and everything. Like, yeah, they probably reused a lot, but I find that even if you just look at the essences that you collect, you see like actual different color hues on them. Like the star one at the end of Oracle of Ages, I remember looking at that as a kid and I was like, that looks really cool. Like it looks like an actual swishing star. And they even do the little highlights of the Maku Sea that make it look like it's got a reflection. Like they definitely put a lot of attention to detail into it, and it's very appreciated.
Yeah. Okay, so there was one pixel that I didn't really understand what they were, and it was like after you beat a dungeon, there's like these things that like fall down. I think they're like
Oh,
leaves.
I know what. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking at, but I was like, okay, the things are like falling again. But that was the only time, and they're not. It's not like you needed to know what they were. You know, it's just a cutscene.
For the longest time, I didn't know that in Ages with the Maku tree, the things floating are like little like dandelion pups. I didn't know what they were as a kid. I'm just like, oh, okay, the Maku tree's talking to me. Here goes those things. But then when I played Season, I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be like leaves or something. Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Okay, that's what they were. They were leaves, and the other one, you're right. I think the Ages one was a lot more confusing. I was like, these are, I don't, am I looking at fairies? Like, there's like a bunch of fairies. I don't know.
I have no idea either. It's weird too because like the Ages Maku tree, like there's no dandelions there. How am I supposed to know this is her talking to me? You couldn't have used a flower petal? Like you use leaves in Seasons. This game was first.
Yeah, yeah. I think they were just trying to do the contrast, I guess. So I didn't know actually Ages was first. For some reason, I thought Seasons was like first. Maybe it's just canonically.
Seasons was first. Yeah, no, it's so technically canonically they go either way. You can do one or the other, but it's mostly agreed that Seasons is first because it is considered the easier game, whereas Ages is a little more like puzzle heavy and more difficult, quotes, I guess.
Okay.
And Seasons was technically the one in development before, because it was originally supposed to be a remake of the first game, which you can see a lot of contrasts there.
I do feel like Ages was a little bit harder for me. And I think it just, I got a little bit more stumped during Ages than I did Seasons.
I think this is just me being like that was my first one I played, so I was more conditioned for Ages. So I like you said earlier, like I was younger, I was determined, I was powering through it. But like now that I look back on it, I'm like, okay, I can see why people think Ages is harder, but I guess I'm just used to it.
Sorry for all the audio cutoffs, guys, but we're just, we're working it out. It's the first episode. Wob has a new setup too, so we're getting it all worked out. But it's okay. It's a great conversation still. There's still a lot of good substance here if you can stick with it. Next thing is the animal companions. We're going to be talking about. I think those were really fun. I liked the animals. I liked the Triceratops looking one that's like a swimmer. I like the
Dimitri.
Yeah. Okay, Dimitri. There you go. But my favorite one, I think it was the kangaroo.
Don't say Moosh. Oh, okay. Ricky.
Yeah, no, not Moosh. I mean, Moosh was whatever. He was just kind of like an extra rocks cape, I guess, in a
That's
way.
the thing, yeah. Ricky is the most unique because like Dimitri swims, which is cool. Chomps on things. You can throw Dimitri too, I guess. I never really did that. Moosh is just a temporary roc's feather, just float around. But Ricky the kangaroo, yeah, Ricky stands the test of time.
Is he your favorite too?
No, Dimitri's my favorite, but that's because of nostalgia. But practicality, like Ricky's the best.
I like Ricky because he can do combat too, kind of. He's like
yeah. I agree. Like Ricky's practically the best. And I have to agree. Just my first playthrough, I ended up getting Dimitri, and I didn't even need Dimitri later in the game because you get the mermaid suit. You can just swim wherever you want, and Dimitri's not useful. But I'd still ride that dinosaur around because it's the coolest looking thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I felt bad about with the mermaid suit too. It's like, all right, Dimitri, I guess see you later. Like, I mean, I guess I'm doing
Pretty
this
much, yeah.
now.
I
Um,
actually found Dimitri a lot more useful in seasons than in ages.
Same, yeah, because you don't get the
Yeah.
mermaid suit there, right?
No,
In
no.
seasons.
And there's like currents that you have to swim through with Dimitri, and it's like, okay, Dimitri's actually useful.
Yeah, yeah, he goes up the waterfall and stuff like that. That's really cool. Um, Another thing that I really liked was the time mechanic, specifically after you get like the third song or whatever it is, the one
Yes.
that gets you back and forth through time no matter where you're at. I liked that time mechanic a lot after that.
It feels like it opens up the game so much more because you're stuck with just the little teleport pads in the present, and then you can get the one where you jump wherever in the past. But once you get that third song, you go everywhere, and you're like, cool, now I can just explore both past and present.
Yeah, I wish they kind of would have introduced that a little bit earlier in the game. I mean, I know there's a lot of puzzles revolved around the teleport pads that you get, but I think it would have been a lot nicer to be able to go freely back and forth through time, because considering that's what the game is about, is like,
Yeah,
different
it felt
ages.
unnecessarily limiting.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
but I did like it, and but I also really like the changing of the seasons, because it changed up the map a lot in seasons, where it's like, okay, it's snow, and then it's like spring, and with the snow you could like walk on top of it, and then like in spring, I think there was like flowers you could like shoot up with, and I almost think that the changing of the seasons was more interesting than even the time mechanic with ages. What do you think?
I'm torn. I don't know. I would have to say that they're both so equal to me because, again, this goes back to the pixel art. But like in ages, the past looks like the past, and the present looks like what you would think Link would live in normally. But then the seasons in Oracle of Seasons is just the 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 detail to the mushrooms, the flowers, the snow. Everything looks like a different season, and it's honestly I'm so divided because they both look so good, and I gotta say I'm just split down the middle for them. They're both admirable.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's hard to choose, because they're both really good. I think I only chose the seasons one because there's four of them versus like the
Yeah,
ages one where it's like kind of two.
yeah.
The past and the present. But I think they're
Seasons has a
both
little
great.
more to offer there. Yeah.
Yeah, and but they're both great. But one time that I think the heart mechanic really, or the time mechanic really did its job, was there's like a place on a mountain that you go up, and I forget the name of it, but it's like right before the lava temple, and the place is like really trashed up, and like the village is destroyed. And then you like go do some stuff, and you come back and you actually fix it for the future, and it turns out to be like a beautiful village after you fix it. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, Symmetry City. Yeah, that was really cool because you hope for something like that in Ocarina of Time, but in that game, it's just here's the past, here's the future. That's it. But in this one, it was nice to actually see the change that you actually made in the past to the future. I think they actually a perfect example of that too was in the present when you get to the second dungeon and you try and bomb the front and it falls apart. Then you have to go back in the past, and it's like, oh hey, the dungeon's still standing, so get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think if they would have done, I know they were limited, on resources, but if they would have done that even more in the game, I think Ages could have been even better than it was. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
that was one of my favorite parts, was seeing that change from the past to the present.
The destroyed future, and then you go back and fix it and come back as a nice, pristine village. It was cool because they even introduced like NPCs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like new people and new things. Like, yeah, if they would have kept doing, I mean, they did that some, but that was like the main one I remember, and I was like, that was like really neat. Um, yeah. So, I mean, what else good in this game that you really want to point out, that, or like a favorite thing of yours that you would like to talk about?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but like the linked game is what really makes these games like a whole point better in my ranking. Is the fact that you can start with either and then finish the story in the next. It's just really cool having that them interweave into each other. It takes two separate games and makes it feel like you played Pokemon Red and then finished in Pokemon Gold. Is almost what it feels like to me. And the linked game, I can't stress enough, is probably where it really shines.
I agree. I didn't realize what exactly changed. All I knew is that I got the extra boss at the end. Like I faced Ganon and Twinrova and all of them at the end of the game, so that means that I completed seasons and ages, I guess. But
Yep.
like you were kind of mentioning before, like earlier in the podcast, you were talking about all these different changes. So I think that is really what sets these games apart from other Zelda games.
Yeah, so one of the things I will always remember the most is throughout the entirety of Ages, you try to stop Varen, and she takes over Queen Ambi. And because Ambi is building a tower so she can watch out for her seafaring like paramour, who is gone. You find him in Ages, but he's on the skeleton crew. But then in Seasons, if you play the linked game, Ambi actually uses Nehru's power to travel around Hollow just to see what the world is like. And it eventually leads to them reunion, like they're reuniting. You see
What?
Ambi and the skeleton captain come together, and it's like this cute little side romance thing that you just didn't know about unless you played the Link games. And it felt really rewarding to see such a pivotal character in the first one go back into the second one and have some closure to the story that was left a little open ended.
Yeah, you're actually right because I do remember them having a relationship, and they kind of hint at that in Ages. But I didn't. So after I beat Ages, because I went Seasons Ages, I didn't go back to Seasons. I kind of regret it a little bit now because it sounds like there was like more that that would cover up the story, especially with the skeleton guy, the pirate, and the Ambi. That's pretty cool. That's so cool that you get. It's like it adds so much replay value to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too. And even if you want to, you can try it the other way. Like Seasons to Ages, you see Rosa come and visit you in Labrina. Like it's super rewarding, and it's the replay value alone with just that feature just skyrockets for me.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember Rosa being like, "The Gorons don't dance as good as the Subrosians." Like that was like one of the things she was like talking about.
She just throws shade.
Yeah, I just remember leading her around in Seasons. Yeah, that's cool. So I guess some of the like whatever for me, and obviously you can tell me what you think, but the last bosses in each game were pretty hard. They compared to the rest of the game, like Onyx and specifically
Baron?
Twinrova. Not so much. I
Yeah.
guess not so much
Yeah.
Varen.
Twin Rova. Yeah.
It was Twinrova and Ganon, and mostly because so Onyx, there's like 3 phases. The first 2 are easy, and the third phase is like it's like a
Oh, it's the
side.
jumping one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you're like jumping on his hand, and it's a side scroller. It's not top down anymore, and this is something we actually haven't talked about. But the game has like side scrolling elements where it's like a platformer, and it was hard, man. I had this I had to save scum it, like which means like save state. I had to save
Yeah.
scum it like in order to beat that boss. And maybe I'm just bad, but I was like, just like struggling so much with this guy.
I found Varen to be a very good boss for what she represented. She was annoying. The mechanics were dumb, but like that's who she was. She was a sorceress, right? Onyx was like you said, the first 2 phases easy peasy, and then the second one though, like the third phase, the dragon. Yeah, I remember just that terrorizing me as a kid. But you mentioned the Twin Rova Ganon gauntlet, and if you go into that without full hearts and a potion, you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, yeah, that, and then so Varen was actually easy, I think, from what I remember. It was actually really easy. And then the Twin Rova Ganon, like you said, Gauntlet. And the reason you're saying that is because when you die either on Ganon or Twin Rova, you restart back to the beginning, and you have to rebeat both bosses. And when you defeat Twin Rova, you don't get a reset. You're like at the same health that you were when you at the end of Twin Rova when you start fighting Ganon. And Twin Rova itself is hard. Like that's a hard boss, in my opinion, compared to the rest of the game. You know, it's not Dark Souls.
I found Twin Rova actually easier in Seasons because the slingshot shoots 3, whereas in Ages you just have the siege shooter, so you have to aim it right at her. Because you're supposed to hit her a couple times, then hit her with a mystery seed, right?
Yeah.
So in Seasons, it's definitely easier because you just turn towards her, spray and pray, and hit her with the mystery seed, and then that does damage. Because I think you have to hit her like 5 or 6 times with a mystery seed or some stupid thing.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually really smart. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't either, and then I went back and played. I'm like, wow, that was so much easier. I have my potion still.
Yeah. Basically that, and then the reason I put this under the whatever, because I'm not, I don't mind hard bosses. I just think it was kind of like a really big difficulty jump, you know, from like the previous bosses. You're like, whoa, this is like way harder than the last bosses. But it was, you know, it was whatever. I save scummed it, you know, whatever. It's fine. I don't play Zelda games to play Dark Souls. I play them because I just, you know, I enjoy them. If I want to play Dark Souls, I'll play Dark Souls. And I think those games are good for, you know, what they are. But yeah. And then
I'm not much of a purist either. I see what you're saying. I find the bosses in general throughout both games kind of balance out to a whatever, in my opinion. There's some memorable ones. There's some really dumb ones. But in general, I think the bosses fit just right. They're not quite up to the comfort level of the music, but they're just, you know, a little under. Like they're whatever.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like I have the ones that I do remember is like the face guy, where you throw bombs and he like changes his face, and you had to throw it in at the right time.
Oh, him. Oh yeah, okay. I hate that one.
Yeah, I remember him. And then there's one guy at the end of like one of the last temples in Ages, I think it is, and he's like just like a rock looking dude.
Robot.
And,
the golem.
The golem, and you have to do the reason I remember him, and he's kind of one of the better bosses because there's really unique mechanics that you have to do in order to defeat him.
I like how he changes his arms, and then from there you like have to figure out, okay, how am I hitting him this time? Like, what am I using? What item is it? Because clearly my sword's not doing anything this battle. But I really liked the final one in Ages.
Yeah, and he wasn't a hard boss. He was just like interesting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
it's kind of like in the one in Skyward Sword with the multiple arms. Like he wasn't difficult, but he was fun. He was interesting. You know, unique mechanics.
I got to go back to Skyward Sword. I haven't beat. That's one of the ones I haven't beaten, and I regret.
Oh yeah, the Switch one is so worth it. Like it, I thought I would hate the stick controls, but not to get too carried away. But like the remake one, just if you're gonna play it, it's fine on Switch. It's fine.
Yeah, I really want to play that remake one because I preferred not to use the Wiimotes and stuff like that.
No, just use the sticks. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I did the same with Twilight Princess. I was like, I prefer the GameCube version. So,
side note, I think Twilight is objectively my favorite 3D one.
And I you know what? Since it's been so long, I'll probably eventually go back and beat that one for the podcast too, because I really remember enjoying it. I just it's been a long time. It's been like whenever it first came out, you know. So
sounds like you got your next guest for a Zelda one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it sounds like I got a good guess for a lot of the Zelda games, to be honest. But
I got a Zelda tattoo right on my hand. I got the Triforce of Courage.
Yeah. Let's. You got it tattooed?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
huge Zelda fan. Like I said, this game left an impression. Like I can't stress. If you're a Zelda fan of any degree, Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Now I know everybody's gonna say play Minish Cap. Honestly, it's not that great. It's good. It's just not the top of the Zelda games. Oracle of Ages and Seasons is a perfect representation of the handheld Zelda like games. Yeah, it's just right.
Yeah, and I do agree with you that these games are better than Minish Cap. I was actually people are gonna hate me for saying this. I was let down by Minish Cap. I was let down
Same.
by the game. Because it was highly praised and people were like, this game is like great. And I played it like, this isn't a Minish Cap podcast, but it was not what I thought it was going to be, so.
It was good, but I really didn't like how they handled the late game puzzles with the kinstones and the figures. There was a lot of things in it that there's more negatives to it than the positives for it. It's a cute game. It's all right. It's good. I'm not saying by any means it's bad. It's just far from my favorites.
Yeah, these are definitely better. So is there any final thoughts you would have, or if anything you wanted to add before we rate the game? Any final thoughts?
Any final thought? Daisy, apparently my cat wants to chime in. Any final thoughts? Honestly, these games are good played on any hardware, but like having it on an original Game Boy feels good in your hands.
Yeah.
There's something to say about what they are in general, like overall for these two games, is that the one thing you need to understand, they're two parts of the same game. That's about how it sums it all up. They're two parts of one game.
Yeah, you really don't want to have one without the other, I would say.
No, you don't get the full experience. It's unique to the Zelda series, and it very well complements each other.
Like you could play one without the other and it'd be good, but it definitely isn't complete without both. So
yeah, you'll still have a good time with one, but then you'll have an even better time continuing it from there to the second one.
All right, so I'm gonna rate the game, and I could do just a 1 out of 10. Is there any good rating system we should do, or just 1 out of 10? What do you think?
I like 1 out of 10s because it speaks enough. I feel 1 out of 5 is a little too low.
Yeah, I was gonna be like 1 out of 4 seasons, but it's like super low. It's like a really low number. So for me, I'm gonna give this game a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's a good game, but it's not. These are good games, but they're not my favorite Zelda. I definitely have Zeldas that I like more, but I also have Zeldas I like less, as we kind of mentioned with Minish Cap. These are great games. 6.5 is a pretty good. Maybe, if you're looking at an A, B, C, D scale, I would give it a 7. If you're like talking about like that kind of scale, but maybe a 7 actually. Let's just say a 7. I think these games are 7 combined.
Okay, good. We don't have to argue. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, what would you give them?
I was as looking at it from outside looking in, just like a gamer playing these for the old quality style Nintendo game, 7 out of 10 is pretty good. If you're a Zelda fan and you go and you want to look at the overall like history of it, these are easy like 8.5.
Okay.
But 8.5 is clouded judgment by nostalgia. Like 8 out of 10 is good for a Zelda fanatic.
Yeah, right. And some of the other Zelda games, I'd probably give like 9 out of 10s or 8 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s. But this one's solid. It's solid. So that being said, would you recommend? And I think I know the answer. Would you recommend to go back and play the game for the audience? Should they reload the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about these games is it's not even clouded by nostalgia. Like, you can go back and play Oracle of Ages and Seasons because the quality of life improvements from Link's Awakening on Game Boy are quite a bit better. You still have to, like you said, you pause, open, and close the screen, but you ever go back and play Link's Awakening on Game Boy? The text speed is so slow.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
It's so hard to go back and love. Like, it's the Switch one, just play the Switch one. It's fine. It's good.
The Switch one's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I want another one I want to play is the Switch version. I did beat the original, the DX one. So
yeah, DX. Yeah, you go back and play now, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That text speed is atrocious.
Great. So I'm just going to read off a couple of comments. You can chime in and say whatever you think about them. One Hot Takes Beyond from Reddit says, I like when Link said it's Oracle time and oracled all over the place. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was one for the ages.
Yeah, that was one for the ages. Oh yeah, that was a good
one for the ages.
That was a good time. Pizza Pizza Man. He has numbers in his name. Pizza Man. They're really fun, but not the best 2D Zeldas. Both follow a typical Zelda formula, but some puzzles items were unnecessarily cryptic to figure out, and the constant jumping through the time in both games got a little tiresome by the end. If given a choice to play any 2D Zelda game, they'd be pretty low on my list. That said, I'd still play them over many other games. The combat, the puzzles are still superb, and the music is phenomenal, and the gameplay is familiar in a cozy, fun way. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. I'd say a good 2D starting place is always A Link to the Past. I will never sway from that.
I think that's the best starting place as well.
You can't get better than the masterpiece of A Link to the Past, to be honest.
It's so replayable. It's
too good.
It's so funny how good that game is. Inky Blinky Pinky Sue's on Reddit said, I finished both games on original hardware. I still have the carts, and I've replayed them several times over the years since they were released, but mainly through emulation. I love these games and really wish Nintendo and Capcom would get together and figure out a way to re-release them for the Switch like they did with Link's Awakening.
Amen. Let's make it happen. Switch 2 just got announced, baby. Let's get those hashtags going.
Yeah, the time is nigh, right? Like this is
exactly.
The time. Like these
last
games,
thing we need is another Switch 2 upgrade for a game, right? Let's just get a full remake.
These would be good remakes, I think. These would be like really good ones.
With the Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening current one, I think I'd accept it.
Oh, imagine if they released that third one. Oh, that would be great.
Oh yeah. Now I'm just gonna be dreaming about that.
It's coming. Maybe. I mean, you just gotta start a Twitter post or something.
We'll make it happen. Just you wait.
And the last comment said from the Dai. It's a DD tree. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I have a productive youth where I played on a few consoles, but it ended around DS Lite and PSP. I returned in 2021 with PC games and PS3. I started both Oracle games on GBC emulator running on the DS Lite. I played Seasons the most because I loved that mechanic and it seemed more lighthearted. I must have completed 50% of the game around the dungeon where you get the magnet gloves. Ages seemed darker to me and I didn't enjoy the time traveling as much, so I quit earlier in the game. I did complete Link's Awakening back then, and I'm glad they made 2 entirely new games based on that style. I'm going to revisit Seasons on my modded GBA.
It sounds more like they don't have a problem with the game. They have a problem with commitment to finishing the game. Just throwing shade.
Yeah, I actually did talk to him a little bit. I was like, did you like Majora's Mask? And he said he did. And I was like, okay. Only because I was curious about the dark theme thing that he was mentioning.
Okay, good. Then we can still be friends.
Yeah. So he said he actually liked it I think maybe it was too much of a change from him from Seasons to Ages, even though I don't feel like it was like a huge leap. But I do understand that Ages is a darker game thematically. I do get that.
I always like how with the Link game though, at the end, it's like jumps into like third gear and it's like, okay, time to sacrifice Zelda. And you're like, she's lying on the altar. Like, oh God, I need to stop this.
You're like, whoa, hold up. That's funny.
You guys just captured the oracles. Why are you guys going to kill Zelda?
That's funny. So yeah, that pretty much like reviews or sums up everything. Where can people find you online? Where can they find you at, Wob?
Currently, right now, Wobeeyert. That's spelled how it sounds, which Wobeeyert. I only got YouTube right now, but expect some more from me in the future. Especially if you want to talk more about some Zelda games. I've got a pretty big knowledge base of old video games, so hit me up.
Awesome. Yeah. Go check him out. He's been a great guest speaker, as you guys can tell. Wob's a good guy, so go check out his YouTube channel. And then I'm going to announce the game for next week. This game was released in 1999 for the PS1 by a team within Konami. And I'll leave you for a second to guess, but the team is called Team Silent, which is like kind of a big hint. So basically, I'm going to be playing Silent Hill for next week. We're going to release the episode on next Saturday. And yeah, that's game over for this episode of Retro Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on this retro adventure. If you love today's trip down memory lane, then consider helping me keep the nostalgia alive by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. You'll get early episodes, bonus content, and a chance to pick the next game we reload. Feel free to let me know your thoughts about the podcast, and until next time, keep those controllers charged.